The ordeal of the hundreds of workers, mostly South Korean engineers and technicians, detained during a raid at the Hyundai plant in Georgia has come to an end. I have our senior correspondent, Oh Soo-young, standing by live on the line. Soo-young, it's great to have you on. So the workers landed at Incheon International Airport well over an hour ago.
That's right, Sunny. It was a great moment of relief as 316 Koreans and 14 nationals of Japan, Indonesia and China touched down in South Korea at 3:23 p.m. on Friday, ending their week-long detainment under U.S. immigration authorities, who conducted a massive raid on a Hyundai LG battery plant in Georgia. After a 15-hour journey on a chartered Korean air flight from Atlanta, we saw Koreans stepping off the plane evidently tired, many of them on the phone, presumably with their loved ones, to tell them they had landed very safely. They are now homebound, some of them with their families, who greeted them very emotionally at the airport. Presidential Chief of Staff Kang Won-sik was also waiting for them, welcoming them back as soon as they stepped off the plane with applause, acknowledging that days-long ordeal under arrest before bilateral negotiations secured their release.
We are considering options like counseling to support their mental health. There was one pregnant woman on board, and we ensured she had a first-class seat. We welcomed them all back with applause and a sense of relief.
Kang added that Seoul will pursue a new visa track with the U.S., with a new working group between the two governments. With Seoul having pressured Washington to rule out deportation or trials for the former detainees and enable their swift voluntary departure, the workers appear to have avoided tarnishing their U.S. immigration records. Out of 317 Koreans arrested, all but one, who remains in the U.S. due to family ties, have completed their voluntary departure. Foreign Minister Cho Hyun will also soon touch down at the airport as he left Washington, D.C. shortly after finalizing negotiations for the return of Korean workers and ensuring their departure went smoothly.
And speaking about the foreign minister, Soo-young, I hear he also struck an optimistic tone by vowing to turn this ordeal into an opportunity for long-term improvements for South Korean businesses operating in the U.S.
Yes, he did. He proposed establishing a bilateral working group with the U.S. to work on visa tracks for professionals. This was in his meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Wednesday. The U.S. is believed to have agreed in principle. In fact, President Donald Trump himself appeared to recognize the need for foreign skilled workers to enable foreign direct investment projects and ultimately strengthen American competence in high-tech areas. Trump even held up the Korean workers' chartered flight by almost 24 hours, requesting that they seek ways for them to stay on at the Georgia factory. So this crisis has proved how the lack of dedicated visa programs for Koreans makes it extremely difficult for firms to actually invest in the U.S., as they cannot deploy workers with specialized skill sets to complete key facilities and set up operations. Thus, it seems Seoul and Washington will discuss viable visa pathways, such as the bill introduced in 2013 to create a quota for 15,000 Korean professionals to work in the U.S. Before leaving Washington, the minister met with members of Congress who welcomed the idea of establishing a working group to prevent similar incidents from happening. Cho explained that the Korean public is deeply concerned about the mass detention of Korean professionals who visited the U.S. to faithfully carry out investment projects, and that he has been conducting consultations with the U.S. with a very heavy heart.
Right. And Soo-young, one quick question before you go. The presidential office held a related briefing a little while ago. Could you briefly touch upon that?
Yes, Sunny. It happened about half an hour ago with National Security Advisor Lee Sung-rak telling the press that from this incident, the task ahead is to draw lessons from it and design measures to prevent recurrences. He said Korean companies that is, had to make use of obtaining short-term business visas, or ESTA visas, which are issued for short-term stays in the U.S., as the companies urgently needed to operate local plants. However, U.S. immigration policy has not accommodated such needs, despite Korean investment increasing over the years and very much requiring skilled workers to temporarily enter the United States to set up their plants. So we called for a phased approach to improve the current visa system in the States and also create new visa categories for Koreans. He set out a roadmap of first clarifying guidelines on existing visa schemes to remove uncertainty for Korean firms. Second, working with the U.S. to shorten the length of issuing visas and lowering rejection rates. In the long run, he said U.S. laws would have to be amended, although this may be difficult, in order to create new visa quotas and different types of visas for skilled Korean workers. Back to you, Sunny.
Right, I see, Soo-young, quite a lot of work ahead then. All right, thank you for that report, Soo-young.